uh, what is your take on interim budget?
I think there are four parts to this budget. The first part of the budget recounts all the achievements which the government has done since 2014 and clearly lays down that this is the kind of direction in which the government has intended to go. So whether it is housing, whether it is agriculture, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is regarding the direction of education or other things, I think it basically indicates that ये हमने कल किया था, this is what we have achieved and this is the direction in which you are going to go forward for the next couple of years as this government comes back to power. So I think that's the kind of indication this budget has given. Number two, it talks about the Viksit Bharat or the developed India and the developed Bharat, so to say. And that is extremely important because it says that we want to be a developed country by 2047, and for which all these factors which she has made statement in the budget is the direction in which she will go forward to do. The third important thing which I think she has said in the budget is that she has been able to improve the fiscal target, which is 5.9 coming down to 5.1. And I think that's extremely important because the ultimate target, which is for the next couple of years, is 4.5. If that is so, and the achievement happens, then the capital and debt available from the banking system will certainly grow and will bring down interest rates even otherwise, or the availability of funds for the purposes of debt will increase in the banking system and other system, because otherwise the government was taking away this money for their own development and statement. So I think that is an extremely important part. And the last part of it is the fact that the leadership which India is taking in every aspect of the thing. Like for instance, in the railways, they talk about 40,000 rail coaches which will take up the direction in terms of the upgradation. Talked about tourism, including Lakshadweep, including temple tourism, and all those aspects of it. Infrastructure, manufacturing, all these aspects of it are put together into a package deal. So I think these are the fundamentals of the budget, which is what I call a directional budget, which is really giving a positive aspect to the entire economy. For an interim budget, I think it's an excellent statement, which puts across clearly what the government has done, but more gives us an indication to the entire people of India, Bharat, that what's going to happen in the next 5 years as an indicative model.
Finance Minister has announced 2 crore more houses under PM Awas Yojana. How will it impact on real estate sector?
I think it's very important what they have done. In the last 6 to 12 months, you must have realized that the affordable housing segment had taken a hit, while the middle segment and the higher luxury segment grew by more than 10%. The affordable housing did not grow at all. This was partly due to the interest rate hike.
2 or 3 broad comments. One, because it was an interim budget, but an interim budget just before the election, many people expected this to have populist measures in it. I think the government has been wonderfully responsible in not doing anything populist, in containing both the revenue and the fiscal deficit, and continuing the glide path that they had announced in the previous budgets. It also appears to be a budget coming from a sense of confidence that they are going to continue this spend over the coming years. So big focus on infrastructure, especially on the areas of railways, big focus on agriculture and farmers, big focus on women and youth, and also encouragement to private enterprise to do more research and innovation, especially at the stage of startups. I also like the fact that they are encouraging state governments to take interest-free loans for specific areas of development, focusing on clean energy, focusing on civic infrastructure. So overall, the budget directionally and in terms of scale, considering where we are in the political landscape of the elections, I think has been done very well, including things like housing for juggies, allowing people either to buy their own homes or to build new homes and to provide funding for those. I also like the fact that they've used the technique of more with less, which is allowing and encouraging more medical seats with the same hospital capacities. So this is what a country like India needs to leapfrog, because we have not only to cater to the middle class of India, we have to cater to all categories of India. And this is what I think the government has done, and has used some very interesting terminology for GDP and development, many Ds of development, big transformation. So I think I'll also focus on new technologies, deep tech, space tech, so which is very critical, both allowing and encouraging more focus on build out, because it is well known that the manufacturing industry and the construction industry for homes have a massive multiplier. So these three combined, the automotive industry, the real estate industry, and the healthcare industry, if you look at these as economic indicators, they have the highest multiplier effect on the economy in terms of number of other industries get impacted and the number of jobs that get created. So from that point of view, they have touched each and every one of them individually, separately, and also cohesively when they've gone across the youth and the women, etc. The ability to focus on women, I feel, is particularly important, because it is India's stronger and smarter half. And for the next quantum leap for India's growth in the future, that is one thing we have to focus on, is bring women into the economic mainstream. They have always been responsible, they've played a very important role, but they've remained in the background. I think it's critical with the multiple initiatives that the government has been taking, and I'm not focusing only on the budget today, but the multiple initiatives, and especially helped by, catalyzed by what is done in the budget today. I think it is all in all a very encouraging budget, and the government has managed with the spend of 11 lakh crores still to contain both the fiscal deficit and the revenue deficit, because these are critical for India's rating globally and for the cost of funding for Indian industry and for Indians. I think the ability to allow us to grow and at the same time figure out a way to lower the cost of funding, I think was critical. And this has been done while the entire world has been in turbulence. India has managed to remain like an ocean of calm. And with this, I feel we have given more continuity and consistency to this growth. I do hope that in the future, we will be able to raise our growth from the, well, I have to say full marks first on high growth of close to 7%. There is no other country in the world, no other large economy in the world which comes even close. But because of the large diverse population, and because of a large section of our population that is still living below the standards that they should have, it is important for us to have consistent high growth over the next 15 to 25 years. So our aim has got to be to raise this above 8%. And many of the things that are being put in place are building blocks for this in the future.
It's possible. I think interim budgets, we did not expect much fiddling with tax. There have been, some announcement on better servicing, waiving of old outstandings. These are helpful, but it's not for an interim budget to tweak taxes. So we should wait to see what happens in the main budget. The Finance Minister did rightly point out that in the past she has brought down taxes, which is the case. And they, out of the budget, in fact, only recently announced the exemption limit going from 5 to 7. So it wasn't part of the interim budget announcement, but was just before it. So yes, I think we can wait to see, as we should, that what is helpful when taxes are reduced is people have more money in hand to spend, and that helps consumption, and consumption helps growth. So to the extent that rural consumption has still been slow, we need to support the farm communities with the money they have in hand so they can spend and drive some of that consumption. It's been a strength in the past for India. It's still an area that needs some focus. There was mention of some farm-related programs. We need to look at that detail. But anything that helps the farmer to save, to spend, to have a better way of life helps the economy as a whole. And that may not need tax revisions. It may need schemes which help on that front.
Okay, and the promoting of tourism also, the
Yeah.
budget and Lakshadweep as well.
Yeah.
So what do you want to say about the long time bank loans, interest-free loans?
So tourism is a big revenue generator for an economy. There are whole economies like Italy, Greece, Spain that survive on tourism. India, with all that we have to offer, has never really developed its tourism to the levels that some of these European or indeed some of our Asian neighbors have done. There is room for improvement. Logistics is going to lend some of that. We've seen huge announcements of hotels and hotel chains now across the country, so that helps. More domestic tourism, and I'm very happy to say as I travel around, we're seeing more and more domestic tourists, and they're not just from Bengal and Gujarat, which was the traditional sort of traveler and tourist. There was mention of spiritual tourism by the finance minister, so that, of course, is a big one for the country. And the more access we provide, ease of access through better roads, airports, railways, and staying arrangements, the more people travel. And I hope that we as Indians can spend all our money traveling in our country instead of going abroad. And improvement in infrastructure will be a great way to make sure that that happens. It's a huge job employment opportunity. It helps youth, it helps women, because all of us can work in that sector. And, there is a whole level of rural tourism and ecotourism which can help farmers and communities in our hill areas, etc., who begin to have homestays and provide these services.
Yes, but actually, if you are talking of the, there are two issues. One, that there has been health allocation this time, which were very significant. The new medical college, for setting up new medical college, a committee has been set up, which will actually provide health cover, affordable health cover, to almost every nook and corner of the country. The second thing which has been done, that Ashas, which are the bulwark of our system at this given moment, are being covered in the Ayushman Bharat scheme. So that is again something very, very significant. Then there has been more allocation for providing the health care in the budget, which goes up to 5 lakhs of coverage to the poor, and the coverage has been extended, and Ayushman Bharat reach has been extended. One very significant decision has been to tackle the neglected tropical diseases, which is one of the very major bane in India. It has been pledged that by 2030 we will reach the elimination program where they will not remain a concern of public health significance. So these have been the major highlights for the health allocation in this budget. And that is how this new era is coming up. New era will be providing to the poor and needy health care at all its dimensions, and diseases which are termed as neglected tropical diseases, where the funding was very poor and the mortality and morbidity to the poorest of poor are very high, will be tackled.